Aloha, my name is Juenlee. I'm an alcoholic. Okay, you can hear me all right. So these were lays that were given to me by my girlfriend Monica. I had to have a shout out to her. And she also gave me the Serenity prayer mug. So that was kind of cool. Yeah, I was wondering, what are the things I wanted to share about at this time, and I've been thinking a lot about how I drank and how I got started with the newcomers here. I'll just touch a little bit on that. I my first drink was at the neighbor's party, and I have two older siblings, and they were there, and the neighbors' children were the same age as my siblings, and I was the younger, the 11-year-old, and I went over, and they were doing shots, and I drank a shot, and I calmly got up and excused myself, and I went into the bathroom, and I threw it up, and then I came back, and I just kind of nursed a beer the rest of the night, and I just kind of drank like that. That pretty much is like, I never could hold down my liquor. But I could sip it and just get that warm, checked out feeling, and then I was good. And I don't know, probably a year later, I had a girlfriend who stole some marijuana cigarettes, and I started smoking that, and that, I don't remember getting home. But I just remember I wanted more of that, and I could handle that, or, I don't know what handling is. But I started at that point having a real fascination for anything little miniature bottle alcohol, and I've kept a whole little supply in a cabinet in my bedroom, and then I had a big bottle of Southern Comfort and Yukon Jack in my closet, and they were like little trophies, and the little miniatures was like this little miniature bar. I had a fascination for being a grown up at 11 years old, and one day I figured it would be just as nice of a looking bar if all the bottles are empty. So little by little I drink those up. I mean, I never could consume large amounts, but I always liked how I felt when I drank it. I really made that my best friend. And the rest of my family life at that time was chaos, was total chaos. I didn't get along with my mom. She was very physically abusive. My father was the angel that took us fishing and camping. And then right at 11 years old, 12 years old, when I was 12, he had medical issues, and he was in a wheelchair. All of a sudden, the dad that I knew wasn't around, and we had this incapable, angry mom who was angry at my dad for not participating anymore, angry at the kids because she didn't want to be taking care of kids, and I just wanted to get away. So I got the family bunk bed ladder, and I would put it on the other side of my bedroom window, and I'd just check out and leave every night. I'd go somewhere, I'd go anywhere. And by the time I reached seventh grade, which is middle school, I had such a hard time. I was stealing cigarettes and selling them to get friends. I was making up baggies of oregano and selling that, and just trying to be in the cool crowd, I thought. And I remember one time going up to my mom going, I hate school. I want to change schools. And she'd sit there and go, well, there's something wrong with you, because none of the other children want to leave school. And I just yeah, yeah, there is something wrong with me, but there was like, so do something. I don't know. And so the next year, I found like a whole group of people that I could hide out in a basement and smoke all I wanted to smoke, whatever I wanted to smoke, which was just pot and cigarettes, and then drink all that I wanted to drink. They'd get me at apricot brandy, and I just completely lost the summer of my eighth grade to ninth grade, and starting ninth grade, I told myself, this is not right. I'm going into high school. This is big time now. Maybe I really should quit. And the deal is I'm the one that had more alcohol in the bedroom than the rest of my family. Like my parents didn't drink. Nobody else was acting out. I'm the only one out of four kids in the house that had this fascination. And my sister, even, she was 3 years older. She had a friend that would want to get her stone, and he wouldn't waste it on her. He'd give it to me, you know. And so I said, well, I'm going to quit. This is it. I'm going to go into high school big time now. I'm going to try out for the cheerleaders. I'm going to go join the drama club and be treasurer of the freshman class. I mean, I really tried to make a go of it. And at that point, I just never felt right. Never felt just I didn't make cheerleader, and all I could do, and I didn't like the drama. It was too much work, and so I was just like treasurer for the freshman class, and then I left school. My parents divorced, and I went with my dad to another house, and that was the other thing. I was full of anger. I was full of anger watching this mother of mine have a crappy relationship with this loving dad. And then when he gets into a wheelchair, she divorces him after 23 years of marriage. It's like, oh my God. So I ended up being his caretaker at 14 years old. And at 15, I got a driver's license. And actually, I got a driver's license. And then I figured out how to get a fake driver's license that said I was instantly 21. And then I could start going into the nightclubs, and I could start driving up to, I grew up in Sunnyvale in California, and I could drive 4 hours to Lake Tahoe and go into the nightclubs and casinos. And if you look old enough and you've got an ID, you can drink all you want and play all the casino games. And so I did that pretty often. And so I just grew up really fast. Like all of my youth was all about getting grown up, and there was just no playfulness about it. It was it was serious. I was filling out rental applications for a place to live for me and my dad when I was 15, and then I threatened to take my mom to court for child support, because me and my younger brother are like trying to live off of my dad's disability income. I mean, it was a mess. And I believe that when I told myself I wanted to stop drinking at 13, and I lasted 9 months and I started drinking again, I feel like I wouldn't have maybe gotten into so many fights and gotten so angry at my mom. And like, I'm the only one out of four kids that gave her bruises. Like, I don't think that would have happened if I had stopped drinking at that time, if I had the tools to not to cope with family life. And that's kind of my story here, is that I had more anger when I didn't have a drink. I had no coping skills. I was raging. I was just like my mother. And so here I am. I'm 16. I gave my mom bruises. I'm moved on from there. I pretty much, I skipped the whole, I ran away from home at 13 because she was chasing me out the door, trying to beat me up with a hanger. And, so that whole relationship was so fractured. And at 16, I moved in with my dad, or 15 and 16, and then he has a stroke, and I kind of totally leave the scene, and my siblings end up taking care of him, and I'm on my own. living with a boyfriend in his house, and I was in heaven. Like, this boyfriend's father was a policeman, a lawyer, and a fireman. And on his days off, he drank himself to where he passed out and pissed on the sofa. But I wanted what he had, man. He had the motorhome, the swimming pool, the cabin up in the mountains. You know, I wanted all that, minus the getting drunk and pissing on the sofa part. But and you know, that relationship lasted 3 years because I could use that family to live at and get my crap together. And as soon as I turned 18, I dumped the guy. Like, I had no connection on how to have relationships. And like, I was with them for 3 years and it seemed so meaningful. Well, I mean, literally 30 days later, I moved in with another guy. And this other guy was my dad's caretaker after I moved out. So I figured, hey, he's probably, you know, going to be accepted in the family if I like have a relationship with this guy. And he was 9 years older than me. I was 18. He was 27 or something. And that was a disaster. He drank way more than me, and I got totally obsessed at how much he drank. And 2 weeks after we got married, I called him an alcoholic, and he backhanded me. And that I told myself, which is like the abused person's state of mind. Oh, I just spent all this money on a wedding, and I can't lose face, and I got to make this work. But it just became like a whole war of roses of just fighting, and you're an alcoholic, and I'd get beat up, and I had beer bottles thrown at me. I mean, so it turned me off on drinking a whole lot because he was drinking up our money. I'm like, So 2 years of that relationship later, I decided I need to go to Alcoholics Anonymous to get this guy to stop drinking. And so I came. My first meeting was right after Halloween. And in that time, I wasn't the alcoholic. I didn't drink like he did. And the first alcoholic person I met, he met me at the door. He gave me a big book. He went inside. He made the coffee for this meeting. And then he was the secretary of the meeting. And it was a speaker discussion meeting. And he was the speaker of the meeting. Okay. And that this first Alcoholics Anonymous member really showed me what service was about. And like 2 months of going to meetings, I'd go home and drink because I'm not the one with the problem. I'd open up the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous and I'd read it and like, okay, that's my husband, that's who he is. And I just couldn't see my alcoholism. And after those 2 months, I realized, okay, I want to leave this guy. I don't like him. I'm not going to get him sober. I need to leave. But in those 2 months, I'm listening to your stories. I'm going to meetings. I have an attraction, but I just can't connect. My denial was so thick. I said, I'm going to stop. I wasn't as bad as you guys. And I'd even share, like, you wanted me to share honestly, I would tell you, you know, you guys really need to be here. And I'm glad that you guys are members of Alcoholics Anonymous. Thank you for letting me share. I mean, oh my God. I was so full of arrogance. And after, when it came New Year's time, I realized, hey, I want a clear mind. I'm going to quit drinking. You guys have shown me, I like what you have when you stop drinking. I'm going to stop drinking and have a clear New Year's Eve, and go to the New Year's Alcothon and start a new year and then leave this guy, right, with a clear mind. And I get there, I spend the whole night at the New Year's Alcothon. I had a clean and sober New Year's Eve that night. And my sobriety date is January 4 because I drank 3 days later. Oh my God, wait a minute. You guys said this, left without a relationship with a higher power, you're going to drink again. And here I was, 2 months of going to meetings going, I'm not bad off like you guys. I still have a job. I'm just coming here for this asshole ex-husband. not this guy. And and I gotta make that clear. And I lasted 3 days. You know, I went to a company party and I drank soda and smoked cigarettes all day long. And then they handed me a beer and said, "Here's a beer for the road." And I went, "This is my solution to heading back to this guy." Like, that's what I need. And I had that clarity that I'm not supposed to be drinking. Like, maybe I have the beginnings of alcoholism, maybe. And then I look at the first paragraph of chapter 4 in We Agnostics. It says, we've just spent 30 pages talking about alcoholism. And if you find that when you start, you cannot stop, you may be alcoholic, or if you find you have wanted to quit and have not quit entirely, you may be alcoholic. And I wanted to stop at 13. I wanted to stop at 18 when I kept telling the ex-husband, "If you quit, I'll quit." And I never quit because I wasn't that bad off. So this was the first time I said, I'm going to quit. I see all these people in Alcoholics Anonymous that are quitting. And then I only lasted 3 days. I got scared. And I started listening to the message of, okay, it's not about how much you drink and how you drank, but what do you want to do about your alcoholism? You're a raging, angry person when you are not drinking. What are you going to do about that? And let's see if the program works. Let's see if working the steps and learning about the big book and being a part of a home group and learning the traditions and getting a sponsor. See if that works for you. See if that is the medicine that you need. And I can't believe that I found the willingness to go in and do that. I know how I found the willingness. I left that ex-husband after 2 years of marriage. And this is, again, how I deal with relationships. 2 weeks later, I moved in with that first sober alcoholic I met. Like, the poor guy had no chance. I was 21, he was 23. He had 18 months of sobriety. He had everything I wanted. He opened up meetings. He was in service, an intergroup rep. I like an intergroup co-chair. And he took me to meetings. He took me to meetings every day. And I mean, we were like the AA couple all over my little island I got sober on. And I'm really grateful to that person. And I'm really sad to say that didn't work out. And it didn't work out, and I don't know where he is anymore. I'm just really sad about it. But he really carried the message to me. And in the time that we were together for 2 years, we had a baby. I was actually pregnant and realized, oh, in my first year, I got 9 months to do 12 steps. Here we go. And at the end of that, you know, baby was born on an event, an AA event on Maui called Gratitude Night. Like, oh my gosh, this is a gift from heaven, this baby. And 6 weeks later, I picked up my 1-year chip. And yeah, I call him my third step baby, but anyway, he's 13 step, 13 step baby. Anyway, that's a whole other story. The main deal here is that in that first year, I learned that how to live life and don't drink no matter what. That's the deal here. It's like I identified that I have alcoholism, and even though I had so much denial that I didn't drink like you guys, and I don't know if I'm alcoholic, and I'm too young. I'm 21. There wasn't anybody 21 and getting sober. They just loved me and said, just keep coming back till you figure it out. Just keep coming back. And I didn't even pick up any coins till I had 6 months of sobriety, and I still felt like I was lying, that I'm not sure I'm an alcoholic. I just want to spend my last few minutes talking about, you know, this whole time of my long time of sobriety has been filled with AA service work. I fell in love with Alcoholics Anonymous through service. I watched this father of my son represent an intergroup and open AA meetings with him and his sponsor, and I watched people that were in service grow and change respectfully and joyfully and playfully, and I love that. And at the same time, the reason why that relationship didn't work out, I watched my son's father stop going to meetings, stop being in service, only focus on work, and he got psychotic. He got so psychotic, I had to issue a restraining order and kick him out of the house and from not going to meetings. I am a meeting makers make it person. Like, I watched that, I lived that, and it doesn't work. If I know that I'm an alcoholic, if you know you're an alcoholic, this is really good medicine. It's not the only place it's not the only house on the block, but it's worked for a lot of people. And so I know that I need to get out of myself to heal the selfish self-centeredness, and service has done that for me. Any little bit, greeters, just calling people a couple times a week, reading the big book with somebody. And I've been doing that over Zoom. Like, we've been reading a story every 2 weeks now, after I've gone through the 12 steps with a Zoom sponsee, and we went through the 12 traditions, and we went on into reading the stories. It just guarantees that I continue to come here and live out a life of sobriety, that I'm not harming anybody anymore, that I'm not pissing anybody off anymore. That's what all of that has done for me. And today, just one last thing is, I have stayed close to Alcoholics Anonymous. I have volunteered in ICIPA conferences and helped host campouts and start meetings. And on my 25th birthday in January, 8 years ago, I drank an alcoholic drink accidentally. I did not plan it. I did not want it. I just celebrated 25 years that week. And I had freaking cravings to drink a second drink for the next 30, 60, 90 days. This disease is alive and well. And I have a new sponsor now who's 41 years sober, and she's adamant about going to meetings every day. And because of Zoom, there's no excuse now to not go to a meeting every day and take care of that disease. And I am so fortunate that I'm one of those that made it through a COVID year, and I get to celebrate today. And the way I'm celebrating today is by going to as many AA meetings in the next week or month, really, because my MO was to gather everybody at my sober clubhouse nearby here and feed 100 people. And I've done that for 10 years, and I didn't get to do that. This extrovert is dying, but this will work. This will work. 86 people here. This is great. Love you all. And that's my pitch. And I'll put in my phone number if anybody wants to talk further about my story or about your story. Thanks so much, everybody.